Hey everyone, so I am here with my August wrap up, and basically I'm going to talk about the books I read in the month of August. So I read 4 books in total, and then I have 2 books that I DNF'd that I want to talk about. So 2 of the books I don't have anymore because they were galleys, and I let 2 other people at work read them and have them or whatever. And then 2 other books I have. So for the books that I don't have, I'm just going to have to insert a picture. So the first book I want to talk about, and I'm going to be short with it because I have a review up, is the autobiography of Gucci Mane. So Gucci Mane is a rapper. Obviously, he wrote most of his book in prison. The last time he was in prison, he was in there for about 3 years. He also had a ghostwriter. It was a 3-star. It was a 3-star book. You can watch my review on it. I will link it down bottom bar below. And funny story is that I was going to do this video today, and Denise Cooper kind of called me out for saying that Gucci Mane breezed over certain parts of his life, but I didn't talk about in that review. I said that I used to live by the song 5-Star Chick by Yo Gotti, and Gucci Mane featured on the song, and I glossed over it too, and she's right. But basically, long story short is that 5-Star Chick is basically these rappers talking about this woman who's so great. She has her own money, she has her own cars, her own clothes. Like, she's just supposed to be like this phenomenal person. That's why she's 5-star chick, 5-star woman, whatever. But yeah, I was like 18 years old, a freshman in college, and I was just feeling myself. And when that song came on, I was feeling myself. And me and some of the other girls on campus used to like get into arguments with the couple guy friends on campus about what a 5-star chick is. Oh, good times, good times. But that's me trying to fill these gaps up a little bit from my past, I guess. I was just feeling myself back then. The song is still good though. I still like the song. I put the link to the video in Denise's comment underneath the review I did. So Gucci Mane, 3-star book. If you like him, I think you'll enjoy the book. If you're looking for something literary and great, that's probably not for you. I honestly think the book is only of importance to people who know Gucci Mane, because they'll be able to relate and they'll be able to understand what he's talking about. Alright, so the second book that I read that I do not have is is called, and I don't want you guys to think I'm saying one long sentence because the title is really long. So the title of this book is Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. Yeah, so Rennie is black British woman, who basically used to have a blog talking about race. I don't think she has a blog any longer, but she pretty much turned this book into her original blog post was why I'm no longer talking to white people about race, and so she turned it into a book. People will categorize it as essays. She says it's supposed to be just a book. I can see the argument for both. I gave it I think I gave it about 4 or 5-star rating on Goodreads. It is definitely Racism 101, and I think that's why I gave it 4 stars. Racism 101 doesn't mean that's not a good book. It's really good and very plain language. Like, you should be able to grasp the concepts if you're interested, and that's exactly what she's talking about in the book. She says she will talk to white people about race as long as they're actually interested in learning about it. They are not there to hear her talk and disagree with her on purpose, and people who are really trying to understand what she's talking about. She talks about the history of slaves in the UK, which I have not heard anything about. It's a short history, but she does go through it. She talks about police brutality against black people in the UK, some of the unjust things that happen to them in their so-called justice system in the UK. She also talked about how people love to say that in the UK it's not a race issue, it's a class issue, and she points out why it's still a race issue, even though, yes, class is a very important issue and a lot of people are affected by class in the UK. It does not negate that race is not as important to talk about. And I got that pushback too when I was telling people about the book, and that's why one of my coworkers wanted to read it as well. He said a lot of people try and say it's just class. He's like, I watch a lot of British television, a lot of British comedies. He's like, I never see people of color in here, so there has to be, that's a race issue in itself, which I think he made a good point. I just wanted to read the book because one of my favorite podcasts, Mostly Lit, which is a podcast about books by 3 black British hosts, had her on the show, and the book comes out in December in the US, and that you can already get it in the UK. It's already been out for a while, and I know a couple of people have read it because they got their book from the UK. So I think it's also on Book Depository and paperback if you want that version. When it comes out in the US, it'll be in hardcover. Yeah, so if you're interested in that, I would say pick that book up. I really recommend it. If you need some clarity on race issues, I think that's a good book to pick up. Even though she's talking about incidents in the UK, I think it definitely relates to a lot of the issues we have in America. And anybody who's pretty much watching this channel, I'm pretty sure you have the smarts to make the connection. I think it'll be easy for you. All right, so on to the books I actually have with me. I finally finished The Cutting Season by Attica Locke. Me and Bree Hill, her channel is under the same name. Buddy read this together. She did finish it before me. I was a little slow at getting, not because this book was bad, but I was also reading Gucci Mane's book at the same time, so that one took precedent because I had to get it back. And just some other stuff, like, I don't know. You know how you get in between reading books and, yeah, stuff happens. Either way, this book was good. This is my first Attica Locke book. This is the first ever mystery book I can say I read other than reading The Maltese Falcon by Dashiell Hammett, and that was for, I hope I'm saying his name right, that was for like a class in undergrad, and I didn't like that book, so I stayed away from mysteries. But yes, this is about a woman named Karen who is running a Louisiana plantation that is now a historical site, and they do weddings on the plantation when suddenly a woman comes up dead on the plantation. I gave this book 4 stars. I was totally engrossed in this. I have to agree with Dee Dee. Attica Locke knows how to tell a story. When the story got good, it got good. There weren't any slow parts in this story. I was engrossed in it the entire time. I loved how Karen had this great relationship with, like, raising her younger daughter, whose name was Morgan, which was kind of weird, reading my name in the book as like a 9-year-old. But there was something there. Even though Karen had her flaws, I really liked her as a character. And I must say, that is what kept me engrossed in the story. It wasn't really the whodunit aspect. It was seeing Karen and learning about her past and her relationships with the people around her that kept me interested in reading this book. So 4 stars. I loved this book so much that I ended up getting her other 3 books that are out. So Pleasantville is her 2nd book. So Cutting Season, I think, it's Attica Locke's 3rd book, or maybe 2nd book. I'm not sure. Either way, Pleasantville is one, and then Blackwater is her 1st book. I know that because the character in Blackwater Rising is also the main character in Pleasantville. But my store had this one on sale that I worked at, and I had to like special order this one. I have no idea why we only have Pleasantville in stock at my store, and I definitely need to talk to somebody about that because her mysteries are good. Attica Locke is also coming out with a new book this month. To my surprise, I gasped when I was listening to the All the Books podcast, and they mentioned that Attica Locke was coming out with a new book on September 12th called Bluebird. Bluebird, this is following a new character. He is I don't know if he's a sheriff or a former sheriff. A black man and a white woman, both I think are killed or go missing, and of course this is like stirring up some tension in this small Texas town that the story is taking place in. So hopefully I'll probably get to that one after I read Blackwater Rising in Pleasantville, since they are dealing with the same main character. And he is also a lawyer. His name is Jay Porter. So it's Jay Porter in this one and Jay Porter in Pleasantville. Karen was almost a lawyer in her book, but I won't spoil that for you. She went to law school. So I think Attica Locke probably has something about lawyers, or maybe she was a lawyer at one point. I'm not sure. But I am going up to Georgia this coming weekend, and me and Cal are going to be staying in a cabin. So I plan on reading these two books while I'm there, or at least one of these books. They're pretty big, but they move really quickly. So yeah, I just had to rant about Attica Locke because I am loving her right now, and I'm so glad that Bree buddy read this with me, because I don't think I would have I don't think I would have made it a priority to read otherwise if we didn't agree to buddy read it. I read one more book this month, which was This Will Be My Undoing: Living at the Intersection of Black, Female, and Feminist in White America by Morgan Jerkins. So I've heard about Morgan Jerkins on Twitter. I ended up seeing her tweets on my timeline, and I followed her, not knowing that she is a 25-year-old writer. She's been published in the New Yorker, definitely the Guardian, and she's still writing. But will be her first book. I don't know if I'm going to do a review on this soon. I wish I had gotten this a little bit closer to its release date, but once I saw on Twitter that she had the galleys out, I knew I had to do the request quickly. So it comes out January 2018. This is basically a collection of essays they're mostly about her. They're just in some of her observations as a black woman. She's really young, but she's really accomplished, only being 25. She graduated from Princeton in comparative literature. She specialized in Russian literature and post-war Japanese literature. She also has an MFA from Bennington Writing Seminar. And she's been a Book of the Month judge. So it says right here where she's written for the New Yorker, Vogue, New York Times, The Atlantic, Elle, Rolling Stone, The Guardian, and BuzzFeed, among many others. And she used to contribute to Book Riot. Yeah, this is she's a very impressive person to be so young, and I related to a lot of the stories in here, especially when she was talking about finding love as a black woman on a predominantly white campus. I understood exactly what she was going through. 5-star book. I want to talk more about it, but I'm going to save that for a review because I think this book is worthy of a full review. And unfortunately, I don't want to say unfortunately, but because I work with other readers, and the rule is that if somebody wants to read a galley, you need to let them read it. I can't keep this one. I have a coworker waiting on this book. So, yeah. So once I get that up, I'll pass it along to them, and I'll probably have to buy my own copy again once it comes out in January. Alright, so for the two books, that I DNF this month. The first one is Love on My Mind by Tracy Livesay. She was on a panel, a romance panel at the job, at my job. The panel discussion went really well, which made me want to pick this up. Her book sold out while the other 3 panelists' books didn't. I think people are also curious because she writes about interracial relationships, and she talked about how it was important for her to see, you know, talk about a woman who didn't have like red hair and green eyes. So she has a couple other books out, but this one was about a PR rep who is secretly trying to coach one of the sexiest and most and smartest millionaires, who's like a tech genius, but he's very rude and brash, and he needs some PR training, but she has to do it where he doesn't know that she's actually training him, and of course they fall in love. If you are a romance person, I think you will like this book. I wanted to give romance a try. However, and this is nothing about the book itself, I think it's just a personal issue, I got bored reading this. Romance, I wanted to read this because I knew it was going to have a happy ending, but I literally could predict everything that was going to happen. I also feel like it's too drawn out. I got 100, maybe more than 100 pages in. It's very clear that they have the hots for each other, and they want to be together, and they, you know, they want to sleep with each other, and I'm like, well, it just happened already, you know, they're dragging it out. So I just didn't have the patience for this book. I felt my mind wandering while reading this book. Maybe if I was like on a beach or something, like somewhere chill, because I think this is something I would read and honestly give away. I think a lot of people would enjoy this, you know, light reads, but I do like some type of intellectual stimulation when I read. While I like being entertained, there was just something that wasn't holding me to be entertained by this. I was actually getting bored and just not paying attention anymore. So I wanted to really enjoy this book and like this book, and I wanted to read more romance, but I think I'm just accepting that every book in every genre isn't for me, and that's okay too. So if you're interested in romance, I would say give this a try. I think if you're a black woman who also wants to see more black women in romance novels, you should give this one a try as well. And the last book that I DNF'd that I don't even have because I borrowed it from work was Made for Love by Alyssa Nutting. She wrote Tampa. That book was about a teacher who was interested in one of her students or something like that. Basically, this grown woman had a thing for like 14-year-old boys. That made its way around YouTube. I haven't read that one, but her new one was supposed to be a little weird. It was about the main character getting a divorce and going back to live with her dad, who just obtained a sex doll for companionship. And the book is supposed to be like a commentary on companionship and stuff like that. I only got maybe 30 pages in, and I was like, this is not for me. And the sex doll part is not what turned me off. I wanted to see what happened with the father, you know, finally having companionship with this sex doll that he was treating as, you know, a human being, as his girlfriend. But there was just a point where the main character, when she was talking about like her divorce and why she was leaving her husband, it just got a little weird for me, and I was like, this isn't working well. Or it was kind of trying to be literary but speculative fiction at the same time. Not saying that they can't be, but there was just something missing in those first 30 pages that did not draw me in, and I figured I'm not going to waste my time with something and try and force myself to read something when I have so many other things to read. So let me know what you read this month. I'm interested in hearing if you guys acquired anything new. Did you like what you read in August? Let me know your plans for September, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.